Walk in. Hi, welcome in.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome in. Hi, welcome in. Hi, welcome in. How are you?
Good.
There you go.
Thank
I love
you.
that sweater. That is so pretty.
Thank you.
So today we will be discussing our screen time addiction. We've all heard adults say things like teenagers can't ever sit off their phones, and honestly it is kind of true, but it is definitely annoying. Phones can absolutely change the way we feel and think about ourselves, our friendships, and even how we handle stress. Today I'm going to talk about how screen time is affecting girls emotionally and what's happening behind the scenes and what we can do to make things healthier for ourselves, our friendship, and our family. Before I move on, I want to reference back to the paperwork I gave you in the beginning when y'all walked in. Just leave that out on your desk ready to look at. And so let's start by looking at what's really happening. Looking over the results of the survey that y'all took for me, I can conclude we spend almost an average of 7 hours on our phone. I've also concluded we spend most of our time scrolling on TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. And it influences us in ways we don't notice at first, like our sleep. Lucy Hemmons explains that screen time is connected to anxiety, low self-esteem, and loneliness. Sadly, a lot of girls feel this happening in their everyday lives, not with just technology. Abigail Wilkinson Miller points out that mental health for teen girls dropped sharply between 2010 and 2015, which is the same time smartphones took over, Miller 161. She also explains that girls often feel like their phones are basically a part of them, which makes stepping away even harder. Miller writes that separation between self and phone is diminishing, 161. That kind of attachment can make social media emotionally exhausting and physically exhausting, just thinking about having to scroll and scroll and scroll. Now that we know what's happening, go ahead and look at your handout, and let's talk about what we can actually do about it. This is steps to reducing screen time. So Bradley Stevens suggests using apps that track screen time because seeing those numbers can be a reality check. Another option is deleting the apps that stress you out the most, even if it's just temporary. Stevens also mentions that talking to a counselor can be helpful if controlling screen time feels overwhelming. These ideas show here that there are real ways to get a little more control back. So even if you don't keep that today, pass that paperwork along to some friends, some family, because it does help. Alright. But before we act like our phones are the complete enemy, it's important to look at the other side as well. It's important to balance our usage of technology. Emily Weinstein and Carrie James say teens often use their phones to connect with people, express themselves, and even escape stress. Weinstein and James. Not everything online is harmful or negative. Eric Chowan and Fernando Nascimento explain that technology shaped our thinking, but that doesn't mean it has to control us. Chowan and Nascimento. It's not about getting rid of our phones. It's about using them in ways that doesn't drain us. So here's what we can take away from all of this. We looked over how screen time affects girls emotionally, what's been happening over the last years to affect us, and a few ways we can make our phone habits healthier. This matters because our mental health affects everything, our friendships, our school lives, our work lives, and even how we feel every morning when we wake up. Phones are always going to be around, but that doesn't mean it gets to ruin our lives or run our lives. Making small changes can make a huge difference. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today, and I hope that y'all have learned a lot about how to change your ways of using screen